Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This one's kind of random. I just felt like talking, to be completely honest. I haven't done anything all day. I'm going on holidays in a few days, so there's literally nothing for me to do. I actually tried filming a few videos, but I didn't like them. I didn't like them at all. I've forgotten how to interact with the camera, apparently. So this is my third attempt. I just wanted to talk about kind of random stuff that interests me instead of trying to force a certain topic. So I'm going to talk about things that I've learned this year. So this is just based off things I've read or just things I've watched or etc. etc. I probably won't be making like direct references to things. I'm very good at like absorbing information, but I'm not very good at remembering exactly where it came from. And I don't want to sound like an idiot, so I'd rather just not make the link instead of embarrassing myself. But to get like the more vain ones out of the way, I learned that I love Resident Evil so much. It is probably my favorite like game franchise, I guess. It's just, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I love how scary it is. I love the characters. My favorite character is Claire Redfield. And my favorite Resident Evil game is probably Resident Evil 2 Remastered. I also like how it's a big metaphor for real life things that happen. Obviously not zombies, but I guess evil corporations and how they benefit off of not only the deaths of civilians, but also just, yeah. But if you're curious, look into the opioid crisis in America. That's a real thing that happened. I learned that synchronicities don't actually really mean anything, or at least they're not preemptive of things happening. If you don't know what a synchronicity is, it's basically when your inner world and your outer world collide. You might call these coincidences. Have you ever experienced a kind of moment where something is such a coincidence that it can't be? It feels like there's meaning in what's happening because of this coincidence. A really simple example would be you're thinking of someone and then you get a call from them, or you're talking about someone and you get a call from them. Or something a bit more out there would be wake up in the morning and you're sitting outside and you see a beautiful butterfly, like a purple butterfly or something, and then and it means a lot to you in that moment. You acknowledge the butterfly, and then later that day you're shopping for CDs or something, and you come across a random CD with a butterfly on it. And because of this kind of coincidence, you buy the album, and it turns out to be one of your, like, you love it. It changes your life. You love this album now. Or you buy the album, and then later someone like makes a reference to it or something. I'm not very good at coming up with examples, but it's kind of like you get to experience the kind of interconnectivity of things. People have studied this phenomena, Carl Jung being one of them, and he came to the conclusion that um, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It means what you mean it to mean. There's no kind of think of it like you're seeing the code of reality, or you're seeing how reality works for a brief moment. The veil is kind of lifted. Um, the truth is that these things are happening all the time. You just aren't aware of them. I'm sure if someone wrote down a list of every synchronicity throughout the day, you'd be blown away by how many there were. But the truth is, we're thinking about other things and we're not going to notice them. So when you do, it is significant, but not because it means anything necessarily, or because like a manifestation is coming or something. It just essentially means your inner and outer world are colliding. You can use this to reflect, be a kind of a test to see like whether you're in the state of, in a high vibrational state, or not. Because when you are like in a more, when your awareness is stronger, you're going to notice these synchronicities a lot more. But I guess chasing synchronicities is a bit of an illusion, or it's a bit of like a trap. It's like chasing rainbows is a saying, and that's essentially what that means, is you're chasing an illusion instead of something that will actually fulfill you. So instead of looking for synchronicities, look for the thing itself that you actually want. I learned more about than the, I don't even know what you would call it, the polarity of gender in nature. Not gender as we know it, gender as in like a masculine, feminine thing. This isn't like a new concept at all, but I've learned more about it. Essentially how there's kind of like a masculine and a feminine attributes in everything, not just people, but also animals and objects. English doesn't do this, but a language like French or Spanish, they attribute gender to objects and things. Like la or le determines whether it's like female or male. And what's so interesting about this is it's not really like something you can measure. It's more of like an intuitive feeling, or something you learn through the culture and through the language, and just how everything in the universe kind of operates this way. Not only physicality, but also in terms of like energy. And within all of us, the same thing where we have masculine decisions and feminine decisions, and you can act more masculine. Another interesting thing to do with this is in certain religions where, without naming any specifically, there is like a kind of marriage between a masculine and a feminine. But usually this works the best when the female is her most feminine and the male is his most masculine. Rarely will you see them both kind of embodying both. They're either one or the other. And this is why that dynamic is so strong, I guess. But in the general sense, a lot of relationships can be kind of boiled down to almost like a puzzle piece and another puzzle piece fitting into each other, where it's not going to work if it's two ultra masculine people. That would never work. It's got to be kind of like a balance. So usually what you'll find is like these hyper masculine men prefer hyper feminine women, and vice versa. And then you'll see people who are comfortable in their sexualities and they have like embodied this masculine and feminine. And in my opinion, those relationships last longer because you're not fulfilling a part of yourself with someone else or something external from you. You already have all of that within. But every relationship can be measured where there's like this balance. Another thing I've learned is the kind of natural pendulum, how there's a kind of breathing of how things happen. For example, waves kind of, they pull out, they go back in, and they pull out and they go back in, and there's a pattern to how it works. There's a day and a night cycle where you can say that the night is the breathe in and then the day is the breathe out. Or when you dream, dreaming is breathing in, and then when you're awake, it's breathing out. And how everything, or everything natural kind of operates in this way, where you'll have seasons of rest and seasons of, action. Or you'll go through periods of love versus periods of, like more hate. Or you'll go through a bulk season and then a cut season, stuff like that. And it's not like something that can be measured necessarily, but there is a way to kind of ride that wave, and there are ways to do that. Which brings me into my next topic. I learned about this thing called the I Ching or I Ching. I don't know the proper way to pronounce it. I believe it's I Ching. I have a book over there, but I can't be bothered getting up to get it. I'm not in that wave at the moment, so I can't. But I Ching is basically, it's a very, very old, I guess you would call it a philosophy or like a way of life. I've never called it a religion. That's ridiculous. But it's Chinese. I believe the spiritual practices Taoism or Taoism, and it talks about like essentially what I was just talking about, how there's like kind of natural river in which everything flows, and you can kind of take advantage of this wave. There are times where you should take action and times where you should withhold. And with the I Ching specifically, there is this um, oracle, they're called. Oracles are basically ways for you to communicate with God, um, or whatever your interpretation of God is. Not God in like the in the clouds kind of God or the Christian God, but a God that is within everything, the kind of energy or the collective unconscious or whatever you want to call it. Carl Jung, who I will mention many times probably, my favorite psychoanalyst or author, philosopher, whatever you want to call him, he did the preface for my version of the I Ching, and he studied it and this phenomenon. He basically made the link between synchronicity, which I was talking about earlier, and the I Ching, and how I'll explain what the I Ching is first. So basically, you get 3 coins, and it can be any kind of coin, just as long as there's a head side and a tail side. But it doesn't actually literally have to have a head or a tail. It can just, like, there's got to be 2 sides to the coin. And then what you do is you think of a question you want to ask the oracle. So, like, for example, is now a good time to invest in this business? For example, that's a very vain kind of question. But then you toss the coins, and they land either heads up or tails up. And from this, you can create a hexagram. It's either a full line or a broken line. I'm gonna simplify as much as I can because it is quite complicated. Basically, you toss the coin 6 times. This creates a hexagram, and then the hexagram attributes, it links up with like a hexagram in the book, and you can read what it means. So it's kind of similar to tarot, but it's a lot more wise in my opinion, and it's a lot less interpretive. It's more direct, in line with these kind of the natural flow of how things operate. And I can imagine, to someone who's never heard of these oracles or anything, or really considered them to be real, this could sound quite insane. But I'd encourage you to research a little bit more about it, because it is honestly it's amazing, because it's one of those things where even at its most realistic interpretation, it is still a very beneficial thing to use, but in its more I guess magical interpretation, it's quite profound and very interesting. So back to Carl Jung, he basically boiled it down to synchronicity, and when you kind of toss these coins, you're kind of bypassing the natural collapse of how reality usually is, if that makes sense. It's not something I can really explain. You either really kind of get it or you don't, I think. There's so much to read and understand before it makes complete sense. But it's okay, it's basically like when something happens, it's abiding by certain rules and laws in order for it to exist in a physical way. When things happen to you, or when reality takes shape in front of you, it's kind of abiding by these kind of unspoken laws and ways of things to be. So when you throw these coins and they have to land either heads or tails, they land in a way that is riding this kind of this flow that's already being projected from you, if that makes sense. Like it's falling in line with how things are. It can't not. It has to fall in the way that makes sense in the reality that you're in. And that's why when you figure out the hexagram, the hexagram is in line with that reality that you're in, if that makes any sense. That's probably my best attempt at explaining it, but it's pretty incredible. I learned that grace is my my goal. Grace is my goal, I think. What does that mean, Jamie? That's very vague. Grace to me is basically this kind of natural beauty, natural placement in everything you do, this kind of natural beauty in everything that you do, where it's grace. Like, you know what grace means. That's what I want to aspire to. That's what I want to embody is grace, is to kind of this naturalness in my existence. It's probably my favorite word. I have a song called Learning Grace, and it's all about that concept, is learning grace. I think that's basically everything I can think of on the top of my head. So yeah. I don't know if you heard that, but he just let out a roar. I learned that I love Loki so much. He's my dog, and Misty too. I love him so much. This brings me onto a new topic. I read a book about like past lives and stuff, and it brought me onto the whole thing of like I guess reincarnation, and I can't remember what specifically, but there was something I read about how there's an idea that we kind of choose the lives that we're going to have and the people that we interact with, and that are there to kind of like teach us our like karmic lessons and stuff like that. And I like to imagine that. I think that's kind of cute. And in this lifetime, like, you might be the son in the relationship, but in a previous lifetime, like, you were the parent kind of thing. But you're like interchanging these roles with like the goal of like kind of going through these lessons for whatever reason, I don't know. But it talked about like pets as well, and how pets are kind of like a vessel for unconditional love. And that really made me think. I think that's so true. It's like no matter what you kind of do, like they're very loyal, and like they're there to just kind of raise your vibration and put you in a better mood. I just think that's so beautiful. It's like this little bundle of love, and just the thought that like someone has like chosen to be that for you in this lifetime, even if for a short period, I think is really beautiful. So like in this lifetime, Loki's my dog, and I'm going through this life and pain and whatever, and he's just there for me to help me and be there for me. And then in another lifetime, it's his turn to be the person going through the lessons, and I'm just a dog there to make him happy and love him. I think that's a really beautiful way to see the world. So I guess another thing I've learned is like, it's one thing to kind of analyze these religions and these spiritual beliefs and nitpick and say what's wrong and what's right and figure out the truth. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of comfort to be found in believing in something bigger than yourself. And I think without that, we kind of lose meaning. So my advice would be to believe in something, even if it's just yourself. Believe in something that gets you out of bed every day and encourages you to be a better person to not only yourself, but people who need it. It's almost like we're designed to help each other. I think that's pretty obvious. And I think without believing in something bigger than ourselves, it's very hard to do that. And then one last thing, this is a reminder that science, as we know it, isn't true. It's a way to understand things, but at the end of the day, Words are just sounds that we've come up with and put meaning on it. These scientists have helped us create amazing things, and medicine, etc., etc., etc. But it does not mean anything. There is no truth in it at the end of the day. That's for you to kind of decide. I think what I'm trying to say is don't let someone else decide what is true for you. That's for you to figure out through trial and error and experience. To just kind of blindly accept and listen to things, I think it won't bring you any kind of autonomy or happiness. Some people are wired that way, and that's fine, but I think if you're an artist or like you're someone who values kind of authenticity, then you need to figure out the world for yourself. And I think needing proof for things or needing kind of guidance isn't allowing you to kind of learn about yourself and learn about, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video, maybe in another year, another 6 months. Also, are my videos good? Does anyone actually like them? Because I mean, like, the performances, because I enjoy doing them. I think that, like, they're obviously not amazing, but like I think they're entertaining. And yeah, I guess there's always a part of you that wants better reception for things that you do, but maybe that's too much to ask for. But at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about me. It's about how I feel about things, right? I don't know. I don't know anything. Do I know anything? Hello? Is anyone watching? Hello? Okay, sorry. Bye.